Hello and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast with the science and the screaming and the even more screaming to determine the best movie for any given year. I'm your host, Greg. This is a podcast where we talk about movies of the year. This year we are doing 2019. It's also a game show where I pit two of my best friends off against each other to see who is my current best friend. And I'm looking at the big board, and current best friend is Mike.
Oh, thank you, Greg, for introducing me. Here are your keys. Your car has been washed, buffed, and
Thank
waxed.
you. Just part of the best friend experience, something I do for you, letting you interact with my BMW. Ryan.
Speaking of BMW, Mike, here are your keys. I put a BM of mine right in the glove compartment.
Thank you. You know how I like it.
The crowd already getting into it, obviously supporting Ryan.
Does the crowd think it's sexy?
That was like a woo, can't believe you told a good joke. Woo.
Okay.
Guys, the reason for this season is Marriage Story. And we obviously, because it's 2019, we've all just seen Marriage Story for the first time. We haven't had a chance to for it to seep into our bones the way we have with some other movies of the year. But we did get a little preview of this movie before it came out, or at least I did. Did you guys see any scenes from this movie?
Oh, well, I
before
saw
it
a
came out?
4-quadrant meme of this movie a lot.
Okay.
I think that one of the most important things in award season is who's going to hold the belt of Star is Born, Trace Your Nose, Look Out the Car Window meme, and Marriage Story has taken it.
Now, the reason I ask it is because I saw that scene in its entirety before I was able to see the movie.
The whole scene?
The entire scene, yeah. So, and then there was commentary on it.
Right.
In a tweet that I read. And I have to say, I watched that scene, and I really wish I hadn't. Because you can't just get dropped into that scene and understand if the lines are good or bad, or if the acting is good or bad. And I felt like that gave me such a false start into the world of this movie. Did either of you have that effect?
Yeah. Well, so I didn't watch it. I guess I saw smaller clips and saw the images and all the discussion about what good acting or good writing is. But what I think is so smart about this movie is the way it starts is so loving, so you can get crushed. If you go in already knowing that exact scene word for word,
yeah,
I could definitely see a different experience happening.
I didn't see the scene, but it's why I won't watch Pawn Stars, because that scene of those two guys. Is that Pawn Stars?
That is West Coast Choppers.
I'm so sorry. West Coast Choppers, of them screaming about a whole variety of topics.
Yeah.
Like, they talk about so many things in the exact same way.
From that meme, I have legit learned things. Sometimes you get into, because it'll be like a hardcore philosophical debate, which you maybe are kind of aware of, but then it'll be really good information, and you're like, man, I learned something.
And both sides of the whatever you're learning about, this is so complicated.
This is forming a dialectic right in my Twitter feed. Oh my God, look at this cat.
I had no idea that Israel and Palestine had a deal with each other, but apparently they are fighting.
But does that take? I mean, for me, it's the part of the modern equation, right? Is that we can see whole scenes, or we can see memes so many times that before we can ever observe, before it's even possible to observe the original content, you have already seen it through some other filter, and then we're denied our original take on it. I guess.
And I think that as time moves on, then we have to build up our filter, our pop filter, even more.
Very good pop filter.
Not look at that stuff, but I'm gonna agree with your fucking good friend over there that just gets points. That it's so late in the movie that I had basically it does its work to completely forget about those memes. I think, even though he wasn't intending that when he was making it. It's like, we got to put a lot of shit in before this scene because it's gonna get memeified.
But it is every scene change was is here?
Yeah.
Is now?
Well, and then then the experience of watching it, they walk into that apartment together, and you're like, oh yeah, this is it.
Oh, shit.
All right, hey Wall, watch out, buddy. You're about to get it.
I've never had an experience watching a movie where two people were so good together. And usually when that's the case, they will go apart, and you're like, this is stupid. I want them back together. Where when they got back together, it was like, no, please, separate them, please.
You guys, now I'm sure we have all punched a wall in an argument, correct?
I actually have hired a guy for the studio tonight. He's like a very quick drywall fixer, just in case this argument gets heated. We can punch as many walls as we want.
Now, I don't think it's appropriate to punch a wall in an argument, but I think we've all been there. But let's critique the punch itself.
The worst one.
That is I mean, that's how you throw a punch.
The only thing I can think of that was worse is in the last season of Silicon Valley, Richard goes to punch a wall and misses the entire wall.
I think it shows that like he is not right. It's supposed to show he's not an aggressive dude, even though Adam Driver can be big and scary.
He's performative.
Go see Rise of Skywalker right now. He's performative and he's a director. Like he's much more. He is a theater guy.
Yeah,
he's not a puncher.
Yeah, that I kept having to remind myself that Adam Driver is playing Noah Baumbach, and so like. Even though you look at the two of them together, and Adam Driver is no joke, twice the size of Scarlett Johansson, when he hands her a fucking jar, Adam Driver could probably break a jar in one hand, but she opens up the jar of pickles for him. It's like, okay, no, because that's not really... Adam Driver is playing a tiny man.
It's hard with grocery bills because he eats every jar or can like Popeye. He just squeezes the middle, and it all flies into his mouth.
Human rectangle, Adam Driver. Well, guys, speaking of Driver... I'm the driver. You call whatever positions you want in the car.
Second.
But we
Navigator.
are going on a road trip.
Mount Rushmore.
In a world where people move too slowly, where we take too much time to do things, there is a monument to rushing, a monument that tells us we must rush more. And every week we make it anew in a glorious image of whatever we care about most. And guys, I think the thing that we all care about most right now is divorce. Am I right on that?
Absolutely.
So
I'm thinking about it right now.
We're going to talk about some of the real formative divorces from, pop culture, from our lives, maybe from our grim futures. Who knows? Who knows? So these are going to be the divorces that helped, I think, shape us and shaped a world.
So my mom and dad right on the
Christmas
list,
yet
right?
To come.
All right, Ryan, I'm going to go to you first because you're the challenger. You're the plucky upstart. What do you think, what divorce belongs on the Mount Rushmore of divorces?
I think that there's one obvious movie that this movie, I believe, trounced. We used to just have this like Kramer versus Kramer as the go-to divorce movie.
Yeah.
Kramer versus Kramer is a joke Hallmark movie a lot because of Marriage Story. Like this movie shat on its grave.
This is the origin story of the character Cosmo Kramer from Seinfeld.
I would like to put Michael Richards' face on the mountain to represent Kramer and Kramer. I think Kramer should go on the mountain.
Well, because there is nothing that I can think of that is a negative association with that person.
Absolutely not. Oh, no, you know what? He did a commercial for Jack in the Box in like the late 80s when they were like having a bad time poisoning people. Yeah, coli. So I think that's the only knock on his resume.
Well, Kramer vs. Kramer has to go up on the mountain because until this movie existed, there was one like divorce movie, although that's like the subplot of almost every other movie. But because it's really about divorce and about the process of it, this was like the biggest divorce movie of all time.
All movies in the 50s and 60s were about dudes cheating on their wives and the wife being like, nothing I can do.
Oh man, I wish I could, but there's not. It's like all literature from the 70s. It's just men fucking everybody around them and the wives being like, this is making me cross. Nope, wait, I'm crazy. Oh, I'm freaking out. Well, right up on the mountain with Kramer versus Kramer, of course, it will be the picture of Denise Richards. Mike, what do you think belongs on our Mountain O divorce?
I think you're either the weird kid who taught your friends about divorce, or everybody in a certain generation watched a movie and had to watch the brutal Sally Field and idiotic Robin Williams get divorced. I think Mrs. Doubtfire is about the lengths divorce can push one to. And it's apparently, my grandma likes to bring up a lot lately that it's the first movie she remembers me crying in, and I'm famous for crying in movies in this show because I related so hard to kids not being able to see their dad. So I did 2 in 1.
This is the movie that also changed gang relations, that there were no drive-by shootings, but instead run-by fruitings.
Run-by fruitings.
Yeah.
Okay, that is that sound that we need for this show, and then, of course, the... We need that very well.
I've told this story often on Moody, so often that I think that Mike thinks it happened to him. But my mom, on the day that she told me and my brother that her and my dad are getting divorced, said, all right, we'll go to the movies as a distraction, and took us to see Mrs. Doubtfire. And my brother was just on the floor, like, heaving tears. It was awful.
No, we just have similar broken pasts, Ryan.
Wow. That's a classic right there. I have to say, that's definitely a good movie. And you know why it's going to go up on the mountain? It's because it's a particularly good one for tonight. And it's not just because it's also about divorce. It's about a guy who doesn't do dick all in his marriage. And then the second is over, then starts bending over backwards to build some sort of life and relationship with his children.
By doing the most fucked up, psychopathic shit possible.
Man, just be emotionally available for the people around you, stupid idiot.
It's so weird to watch these movies as kids and be like, Sally Field, what a cunt. What are you doing? And then grow up and be like, how did you marry this guy in the first place? Like, what was going through your head?
Because society tells women, just pick any stupid idiot. They're all so stupid, and we can't control anything they do, but you have to sidle up next to one of them. All right, Ryan, there's already 2 spots taken on the mountain.
Yes, I think I can do this. And this is important to me, so it has to be important to you guys and our audience, I think. As I was dealing with the divorce of my parents and knowing for a fact that I would get divorced the second I got married as an adult, I was dealing with both Sally Field and Robin Williams' divorce and also trying to figure out how to draw dignity. And there was no way that Marge and Homer were going to get a divorce, even though that's the most obvious one in pop culture history. But Kirk and Luann Van Houten was such an impactful divorce for me. And also, too, I think what was going on at that time was all of my friends' parents were getting divorced, like Bart's friends were, and I wasn't yet. So I was like, oh, Millhouse is just all my friends. I was cocky.
That episode has some of the best lines of all time. And you know what? It makes good radio, so let's run through them. There's the part where he's in his bachelor pad, and he says, the dad says to Homer, I sleep in a racing car. Do you? And Homer says, I sleep in a big bed with my wife. He loses his job, and his boss is like, what's the guy's name? Van Houten, but what's his first
Kirk
name?
Van Houten.
He's like, Kurt, crackers are family food. Maybe single people eat crackers. We don't know, frankly. We don't want to know.
So, Greg, when you said we were going to run through them, you were just going to take all the good ones?
Or the one where Luann is, like, boxing up all of Kirk's stuff, and then she puts lighter fluid on it, and she's like, forget everything you know about Luann Van Houten. And Marge is like, actually, I don't know that much about you, Luann. And she goes, forget it.
But it was at a time, too, where divorce wasn't cool yet. It wasn't what all the adults were doing. So it was that thing, like at a dinner party or whatever, where like it would freak people the fuck out that you were getting divorced.
Yeah.
Well, they thought it was infectious, which it was, because suddenly people went, wait, freedom is...
Yeah, dude.
I'll do that then. I'll do that one.
Well, that's going up on the mountain. I'm just a man. There's nothing I can do. I can't resist any of these. Mike, there's 1 spot left. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go... I'm going to already declare these 3 maybes. 1 from you, 1 from Ryan, and then another from you. So give me your first of the 2 remaining maybes.
I love that because I have 2 great options, so now I don't need to choose. This one, the divorce was so powerful, and the aftermath was so powerful that people now wanted it. It was no longer sad, it was no longer infectious, and now it's like, Julia Roberts, just follow her pathway. Just eat, pray, love your way through the world, because divorce is... It's all about good stuff now, baby. Find your round 2.
So you're saying that Eat, Pray, Love did for divorce, but like Top Gun did for joining the Navy? It's like everyone was doing it.
Sure. So many hot middle-aged women were like, you know what? I am going to fuck James Franco in India. Thank you. Thank you, Eat, Pray, Love.
Very specific, but it did happen a lot.
I'm going to do the opposite of Mike then.
Okay.
What Julia Roberts did for divorce in the positive way, I think Toby Flenderson did in the negative way. Divorce sort of just created him to be this fucking... Michael Scott punching bag that he was. There was clearly in this divorce 1 person who wanted it and had a very happy life.
Yeah.
His wife that we never meet.
Yeah.
And then there's Toby, and I think there's a lot of Tobys post-divorce.
Yeah, what is so tragic about Toby is it's very clear that, like, he had a good life at some point, like a very good life. Like, you know, I was like surfing in Costa Rica. And at some point, God just started, like, torturing him, and that's how it's going to be for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And that makes it worse because he can always look back to that kernel of like when he had some sunshine in his life, but it's gone forever now.
Well, I think these 2 are a dyad of divorce. I think that Julie like Toby's wife was fucking hot dudes throughout the world.
Did Toby's wife go eat, pray, and love?
Yep.
All right, Mike, what else you got?
I'm going to bring it, we don't talk about music a lot because we don't know a lot about music. But this is a real one. We weren't sure if they were brother, sister, or married. Turns out they were married, and they
brother and
very
sister.
excitedly invited all of their friends and family to have a giant soiree to announce they were getting divorced and sign the paper in front of them because they knew it was just the best for both of them because growing was okay. Jack White and Karen Elson.
I saw an interview with Jack White recently. I don't remember, or a podcast or something. And they were like, do you still talk to her? And he was like, no, she's weird. Like, no, like, she just went away and never came back.
She's clearly very weird. Like, but very cool. But yeah, I guess if you'd avoid her, you probably would. So let's see. I can Eat, Pray, and Love. I can Toby, or I can White Stripes. I'm going to say Eat, Pray, Love. I think that is like a very iconic one. And I also believe that she meets and eventually marries a guy that from Eat, Pray, Love, and then in real life, the author of that book divorced that guy as well. So that's a double divorce.
I think we're all realizing that if there's marriage, there will be divorce.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So let's see. I didn't give you guys points. So Ryan, what's the first one on the mountain?
The first one is Kramer as Kramer versus Kramer,
and that's you.
Yes,
Ryan. So that's one for Ryan.
Your
Who's
second
next?
head is Mike's Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mike.
Your third one is my Kirk and Luann Van Houten.
Ryan.
And your fourth one is Julia Roberts from Eat, Pray, Love, and that is Mike.
Mike.
Well, good job, guys. You both got a couple, and I'm super excited. I can't wait.
I want a divorce.
When we come back, it's time to start talking about Marriage Story. Noah Baumbach's entry into the 2019 bracket is Marriage Story. It tells the tale of Charlie, a character who's definitely not a stand-in for him, even though Adam Driver looks and acts exactly like Baumbach wishes he could. And also Noah got divorced from Jennifer Jason Leigh a couple years ago, and Nicole, played by Scarlett Johansson, as they go through not a marriage story, but a divorce story. What starts off as a marriage winding down into a congenial split-up becomes a war, thanks to courts, lawyers, L.A., New York, gender battles, codependency, and, of course, a child. Taste buds, I ask you this. Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson have received all of the accolades, and it will probably receive more before it's said and done. But what about Laura Dern, Ray Liotta, and Alan Alda as our three main lawyers? How important are these performances and characters to the success of the movie?
So important because they are seductive. They draw these people to act, from what we've seen, very out of character. And they all have different tactics.
Because what do you take their character to be of the two main?
ScarJo and Adam Driver?
Yeah, Charlie
and Nicole. I do think they are pretty congenial and friendly, and they fucked each other up, and they know who should hurt each other, but they're like, let's just handle this the way it should be handled. And I think because they're both in emotionally vulnerable states, it's very easy for predators of different stripes and spots to take advantage. And Laura Dern goes, I'm your friend. And I'm
going to kick off my shoes while I talk to you.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm not here to gaslight you like he did. And she's like, no, he was really friendly. She's like, yeah, but not really. But all she does is bulldoze and gaslight. Ray Liotta is like, look, we're all pricks. That's what it's going to be. I'm a prick, you're a prick. But here we got to prick the hardest. And then Alan Alda is like, look, lawyering sucks. This is very hard. Well, and he's either like doing the friend angle in a different way, or he's bad at his job. It's really hard to tell.
I think that Alan Alda holds that role that it typically goes to like black people in movies that are older and might be ghosts. You know, like they come in like your Bagger Vances that come in and like sort of just tell white people how to. He's basically shouting out themes of the movie.
Yeah, and they're not like people unto themselves.
Right,
they're just
exactly.
Like projections.
But I think that like Nicole and Charlie are so three-dimensional. Like that's the movie's greatest strength, right?
Yeah.
Is that they're three-dimensional. That something happens with these lawyers, and I think that it's important, especially with all the gender battling that's going on. I think this is a very 2019, here's what boys and girls actually think sort of movie, that it's important that Scarlett Johansson got a female lawyer and Charlie got a male lawyer, because I think what's happening is all of Charlie's worst fears about what Nicole and women think become Laura Dern's character. Like this very empowered, women are in control, women have been down too long, women have desires too. And all of Nicole's worst fears about what Charlie or a dude could be, just like very thoughtless, like run towards the goal, don't give a shit, is what Ray Liotta is.
Yeah.
It's sort of like angels and devils on the shoulder, but like it's just we're too three-dimensional as a married couple to be able to do this like we want. We have to go hire two-dimensional men and women to get this done.
because you have to hurt somebody to get divorced, and they're not equipped with those tools, so they were like, let's go to the professionals.
I mean, it's not. I mean, Nicole starts it, and Nicole ends it, and that's like a big part of like, is Nicole good or bad? But Nicole's whole thing is that I don't think I can say to you the things I need to say in order to get what I want, which has been a problem with my marriage for the first 10 years of it.
Well, from the whole beginning of the relationship, right? At first, when she gives that big, long speech to Laura Dern, she says, like, when we were first going out, I didn't realize we were, like, setting the tone for the entire relationship, but I just kind of went along with him and sort of just, like, lived his life with him for a while, and then that became the way we did things.
Which then becomes like a water balloon in Charlie's face when he's like, oh, I didn't like any of that. Like, well, you liked it before.
Yeah.
Did I? Didn't you? I don't know.
And that shows like how complicated and fucked up romantic relationships can be. But in that long speech, which I think should get more credit, so the fight is getting all the credit and scene. That monologue is.
I feel like that's the second place, though, right? That gets the second most.
I guess I haven't heard anybody talk about it, but the way she goes back and forth between angry and sad and flip, and I guess we should have a normal conversation. I'm still trying to hide stuff. Is fucking great.
I have to say, I do think that there's a lot that's good about her performance, but a lot of it that's amazing. Like there's that in the middle of that monologue, she just starts to tear up, like at like the perfect moment. But
also eats cookies at the perfect moment.
She eats cookies at the exact right moment. But I don't know. I think I might not like her as an actress, although I acknowledge she's talented. I feel like I see the work.
I was gonna say that I've always been a step behind everyone else as far as like appreciating how great she is, and it's because of that. But the difference with this movie and all the other performances is that she is a theater actor in this movie. And that's what it feels like a lot of that is coming in. Like not only is she being vulnerable and open and all that stuff, but she also sort of knows how to walk around the stage.
She's
and
a
play
director,
the scene.
right?
Yeah,
like she's like composing the scene as she's in it.
Every scene she's in, and her whole thing is he was always in control, I'm not. But like from the party where they're on the phone, she could go to a private place, but she goes to where somebody could overhear her. Like she does play everybody who's not Charlie, and even Charlie, but like she plays everybody around her while being like, I don't know why I never get to have a voice. Like that is one of those like diabolical parts of her characters. She owns, except for her mom. Her mom is the one true bulldozer in her life. But she knows how to work every room.
And it's being the star, and this happens to take place in show business where he is a New York Broadway director, and she was in movies and wants to get back in Hollywood to be on TV. But there's still a lot of like. It stands in for like all relationships when somebody feels like more of the quote unquote star, and now it's time for me to be that. They'll take over. They'll own any room they're in just to feel that feeling.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
That embarrassing. What was the song? The Drive a Person Crazy. That because it's obvious the mom has the DNA and the sister all like, and that's. You're just making your friends and family watch you do this horrifically embarrassing performance.
Mike, we do this for every party that you and I throw.
I know. I don't like seeing myself represented on screen and then having the perfect balance of, because I was like, and then Adam Driver, who thinks he's so much better than Nicole, does the same fucking thing.
I am glad you brought up that performance because when we are talking about actors, obviously the two bright faces up front, Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, are going to get a lot of the credit. We talked about Ray Liotta, Laura Dern, and Alan Alda, but we absolutely have to talk about the best actor in the whole piece, which is Merritt Wevers, who plays her sister. I always love an actor that can come in and just basically give me like 25 lines, and I'll give you the best performance in the movie. She's on a completely different level. She is so funny. People know her from like what was it, Nurse Jackie,
Walking Dead. This year's Unbelievable.
Yeah, but she is absolutely like destroying. I mean, to me that was the most impressive performance in the entire piece.
Her and like so much needed levity, where like, Baumbach does have like flashes of comedy in most of his movies, and I was like, I really need it.
Flashes
and then she
of comedy.
Came in the pie, everything about the pie, and her like not knowing how to talk about the pie or
like he's like,
pie for was so fucking funny.
Like, did you make the pie? She's like, I don't know. No. He's like, where'd you? And she's like,
pecan!
Yeah. And then he's like, is that where you got it? And she's like, what?
I think flashes of levity is downplaying what Baumbach does. I think
This
all
is
of
a
his
comedy,
movies
right?
are very funny.
This is a comedy.
But I hesitate talking about Baumbach too much because some people in the fucking room think that I might be too much up bomb butt, and I don't want to get screamed about that again. And I know that all my opinions tonight are invalid because of what I feel about this director. But it's not just how funny it is; it's where it is.
Yeah,
it's like we get the two love letters in the. It's not like a therapist, but like I guess like.
It's like they refer to him as a mediator.
Yeah. So we get the two love letters, and then a little bit goes on, and then we get Merritt Weaver's scene. And I feel like it's supposed to like set us up to get even more devastated.
Yeah.
You know, like if that was later on in the movie, it would be just as funny, but not as effective as a tool right there.
Yeah, man, it really like. Right. And she's just one of a couple other actresses that have great performances as well, because there's also Martha Kelly, who you might know from Baskets.
And her arm is healed.
Yeah, her arm is fully healed
That's
now.
good.
She was also the park ranger in the Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, or the first one, Homecoming. But as the, like, I'm going to come in and observe you in your home. And
she was horrible to watch. Like, she was so great.
The way she just drinks water. Like,
and then I'm done with my water.
I'm done with my
What do you want me to
water
do with that information?
So really, it's like the performances all throughout this movie are very impressive.
Almost, I don't want to say stunt casting, but there is this thing that I think Soderbergh started of. Don't go with the normal casting. Don't put like Julianne Moore in every single supporting role. But Merritt Weaver and then Robert Smigel was the arbitrator, the creator of Triumph.
Okay, I knew I recognized that guy.
And then the judge, who only has like one line at the end, where he's like, "This is not my circuit, so I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't usually work with kids, so I'm gonna." That's another comedian that's very famous.
Yeah,
Mr. Hall from Clueless to represent all weird theater people.
Right.
Yeah. So like, because I remember the billing of this movie was that it was a drama, a devastating drama. And maybe we'll get into why in a little bit, but what is notable about it is a very like effervescent comedy. A lot of it is done very well and seems to purposely be funny more than anything else. And then just with the occasional gut punch into the heavy duty drama.
I think the issue with Baumbach too, as far as Mike goes, is that the comedy sort of comes from organic places. The drama comes from that, and at no point does anybody like crash a car through a building. And that's just hard for Mike to watch.
Mike hates that.
That seems rude.
Let's for the listeners at home, let's talk about what else Baumbach has done, because he's the director and the writer of this movie.
Yes, and then before,
and it's about basically his life.
And he had directed 2 movies before Squid and the Whale, but that was like, this is the bookend.
Yeah.
That was about a kid going through divorce. Now we have this. In between was Frances Ha, a nearly perfect film.
Yeah, Frances Ha is amazing.
I think Frances Ha is where the fight began.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Because the person, because Greta Gerwig is the person that he, in real life, slept with, right?
Right.
She's the
Noah Baumbach. She's the stage
behind
manager.
the stage manager. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting bit of trivia. In fact, I hope I didn't put it in the trivia segment. Now I'm wondering.
Oh, we're gonna get it
if I did. Well, guys, I'm going to whisk you away to a pay-guarded part of our content, which is just for the Patreon listeners.
The flowers are much nicer there.
Yeah, there's a babbling brook.
Vegetables and fruit in the water.
Taylor's Creek that he always talks about.
I'm a big boy.
You are a big boy. You're the biggest of boys.
Wait, vegetables and fruit in the water of the babbling brook? Like,
it's cranberries. Cranberries are growing in water.
They're just floating on the ground?
Drink it. It's like the chocolate fountain for Augustus Gloop in Willy Wonka. We have that with spa water in ours. We're fancy.
When we come back, Patreon-only content. It's nice and cozy in here. I'm glad they put wallpaper up. That's a nice touch. You guys can't see this, but there's a delicious spread here.
I know it's confusing for you, but it's not wallpaper. It's cabinet liner. Like it's drawer. It's the bottom of drawers, and they just put it on the walls.
It's easier to get. It's cheaper. Different patterns available.
Forks stick to it.
Forks will just stick to it.
Is that what drawer lining is for?
Yeah.
Sticking forks.
I don't want the edible wall because that's gross and it'll get moldy. But if I could just have a wall where all my utensils are on that I can grab whenever I need them, that's dope.
Oh, wait, hang on. Here we go. Here goes, guys.
Welcome
to the Pop Filter Hall of Fame.
Found out the other day that guy's name is Dirk.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. You just never know when there's one of those around. But yeah, he's a Dirk. Well, guys, I think we all know what a Hall of Fame is, right? It's where you put the best of something so that everyone can come and, I guess, think about it. Like, oh, wow, that guy hit a bunch of home runs. But we wanted one that is just for us, just for the things that made us who we are. So this is the Pop Filter Hall of Fame. And we've each brought a person, place, or thing that we think should be in the Hall of Fame.
Verb? Can we do verb? Like jumping? What if you love jumping?
Well, then if you're talking about jumping in that sense, it's actually a noun, right? Because it's the thing jumping.
It is the jumping, yes.
Yeah. That's called a gerund. Let's all say something that we think should be in the Hall of Fame.
At the same time?
We each only get 2 votes. So maybe nothing gets it in. Maybe 2 things get in, but there's always somebody who leaves this segment feeling very upset, and I think that's why it's good.
It's been a while since we voted nothing in, and I will point out to both of you that each time something comes in, that bus that we build is $250,000, and that does come out of our paycheck.
Yeah.
So
maybe slow it down a little.
Yeah.
Is that why my paycheck has been so deeply negative recently?
Yes.
Okay. I thought that was a mistake. I don't want to say anything, but I owe the company like $750,000.
By 5 p.m. tonight, please.
But yeah, that's okay. I'll liquidate some stuff. Mike.
Move some money around.
You are nearest to my heart.
Thank you.
And dearest to your
What
heart.
would you like to see in this, our Pop Filter Hall of Fame?
I would say this person is the reason for the season. Every few years, the world freaks out about how great they are. And those of us in the know are just like, yeah, they are great. From running and fighting dinosaurs to becoming maybe not that enlightened, to luring the hell out in this movie. I think Laura Dern is one of the best working actors, and all shows that are canceled probably should have been canceled quicker, except for Enlightened. That show needs to come back.
I feel like with Laura Dern, it's like a coin flip. Sometimes she is the best part of the thing she's in. Like, she does an amazing job in Marriage Story.
And by the way, not like a lock to be nominated, to win.
Yeah.
Like, the world was already decided, yes.
So she did a great job, obviously. But then, like, in something like The Last Jedi, I just felt very mechanical and wooden. So, for me, she's hit or miss. But I do like the narrative around her. You know, that she's, like, so fabulous and cool and amazing, and she should hit us with her car. I think that's fun. I like anytime we talk about somebody like that. But still, Rachel Dratch, hit me with your car.
Wherever you're at. Also would go real nicely next to Jeff Goldblum in the Hall of Fame and Jurassic Park in the Hall of Fame.
That's true.
Guys, we're one Sam Neill in the Hall of Fame away.
We could have a whole wing.
A wing, right? That's very thematic. I love that. That's what people want out of the Hall of Fame. Okay, Ryan, what do you think deserves to be in the Pop Filter Hall of Fame?
You guys both know what I motherfucking think. It's a whole new season where we can nominate whoever we want, and there's only one reason for the season, the person that is responsible for why we're standing here, the only person that we actually look up to, the only person in the world that we think is better than us. It's Paul F. Tompkins. I am nominating him from the Hall of Fame.
So this is a renom.
This is the fourth time. This is the fourth time, yes.
Wow. And he has always been stymied.
I'm going to say because maybe it's Taylor that always votes him out.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's run up against some tough classes. And I love Paul F. Tompkins, but I think I love him slightly less than the two of you do.
Right.
So then with Taylor's like weird anti-Paul F. Tompkins takes, I think that has made it hard for him. But hopefully it's interesting because I'm renomming as well. And I thought these gentlemen were going to be the most renommed, but it might be Paul F. Tompkins because this is, I believe, the third time they have been pitched. And it's been pitched by everybody but me on the current show. We owe everything we have to the band Blink-182. None of us would understand music. By the way, I was on Twitter the other day and I saw Mark Hoppus asking like the most basic music question. He was like, how do you do this one chord?
How do you play guitar?
Yeah.
It's finally time to learn.
I thought that was so funny. He's like, hey, music people, what do you call it when you press like a bunch of the strings at the same time and then do strummies? Blink-182 was very important for all of us when we were younger gentlemen, but that Pin the Grenade song?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're back, baby.
Yeah, so they're still a modern day favorite. And again, they taught us aliens were real. Mm-hmm. Like, we would not know about aliens. For whatever reason, we don't care. This is like the weirdest thing ever, but we've discovered aliens. They're definitely real, and we just don't actually give a shit.
And when you say we've discovered, it's Tom that
Tom
discovered.
DeLonge.
Tom DeLonge did.
Tom DeLonge discovered it, but then he told the Navy, and the Navy was just like, yeah. And then everyone was like, oh, okay. Well, let's start off with Laura Dern. Mike, do you vote for your own pick, Ms. Laura Dern? Knowing that vote will necessarily come away from either Blink-182 or Paul F. Tompkins.
You only get 2 votes.
You only get 2 votes. And, yeah, I vote for Laura Dern.
All right. Ryan, do you vote
Nope.
for Laura Dern? No.
I know we're in the Dernissance, but come on.
Yeah, I don't think it's like supposed to be the stuff that's the most important for us, and because we have been adjacent, it's like the same thing as like the Tim Curry thing. Like, I know what it looks like to love Laura Dern, and I enjoy her, but it's not like she wasn't like foundational to me.
We know people who are huge like Rocky Horror and TV movie It fans. That makes sense to me.
Yeah,
that you love that. I'm not there with you.
We are not there with you in spirit or in physicality. So that's 2 no's for Laura Dern. But Paul F. Tompkins or Blink-182 is going to once again go back into the bin. We'll start with Paul F. Tompkins. Ryan, do you vote for your own pick, Paul F. Tompkins?
I do vote for Paul F. Tompkins.
All right. What about you, Mike? Do you vote for Paul F. Tompkins with your final vote?
I do.
Oh, Paul F. Tompkins. And you know what? I will do it. I will vote for Paul F. Tompkins. He's probably the funniest person alive.
Yes.
So I guess since comedy is so important to us, we should have the funniest person alive.
Is that why you didn't vote for so long? Is because we moved you to number 2?
I have to say I am butthurt.
Yeah.
Because everyone always says Paul F. Tompkins is the funniest person alive. And I just always kind of hope that it would be me or at least my friend Larry, the cable guy.
Get her done.
I do every day, Larry. I do every single day. So Paul F. Tompkins is in, and that point goes to Ryan. Well, Blink-182 can't make it in. I definitely would have voted for our boys in Blink. Mike, you have no votes left. Ryan, what do you think?
You know what? You said this is the 3rd time?
Yeah, so now they're the most non-voted in remaining.
And I have voted against them twice, I believe.
You pitched them once and then voted against them.
Classic.
I'm a weird guy. I'm complicated. I think that now I have seen them live since the last time we voted.
Which is not the way to see them, right?
No, no, it's important to see them.
Yeah, you don't want that experience.
Ideally, you are not facing them, watching another band play silently. If this was Travis Barker, it would be Slammy D.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I think that I'm going to vote yes.
All right. Blink-182, not in, but with a strong 2 votes. Well, it looks like we have a class of 1 this year. Who is it, Ryan?
Your class of 1 is 1, Paul Volume Fumpkins Tompkins.
I cannot wait to see his entrance into the Pop Filter Hall of Fame. That'll make quite a good display. When we come back, we're going to have one more interesting conversation about this here dang old movie. Is this movie hopeful at all? Is there any point to getting married, falling in love, meeting people, watching movies, being born?
Christ.
Is that dark? Was that dark? I'm sorry.
You know, it sounded like that I didn't mean to sound like I was shitting on Alan Alda's character or thought that was bad writing. And having finished the movie, I think it was actually important. Like, without it, I may be too stupid to realize a lot of the movie's themes. And the stuff that he was saying, I think, is important and really held up throughout the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. Watching Adam Driver.
What specific things are you talking about here?
Just like, he was like, hey, just so you know, time heals all wounds, and it will get better.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Henry will go to college on the East Coast, which cracks Charlie. He's like, well, that's fucking...
What are you talking about? That's his whole life. That's the part of his life I care about the most.
Also, he's a moron. He's a West Coast college kid for sure.
Because the thing that he said that really stuck with me was that whole, you want to be the good guy in divorce. You weren't the good guy. You weren't the good husband in marriage. You wanted to be the good husband in divorce.
Right.
That, I thought, could have been the title of the fucking movie.
Right.
And I think Alan Alda is saying he's on his 4th. He's a divorce lawyer who's on his 4th marriage.
Yeah.
And the gut reaction is like, stop. But he's like, yeah, it's going to take eventually. Like, I do think, like, the point of love in most movies is, like, it is better to try and be happy and with people sometimes than be like, I will be alone forever.
Yeah.
So not Yoda? Anti-Yoda, then.
Anti-Yoda. She gives the worst gifts. But I think starting with what they love about each other and then ending with her coming and tying his shoes. Right now, Nicole is saying, I was never happy. It was always awful. I don't think that is true. I think that is how reframing can happen. When you're in the worst of it, you look back and say, I only see the worst.
Yeah, totally.
And they will be married again, and those marriages will be better. You know,
Yeah.
Charlie at one time, I think in the scene, calls Nicole out for, you're just going to get married to like a reverse Charlie.
Yeah.
And then all the same shit's going to happen again. I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't know. I think that.
And isn't the end of the movie happy and hopeful, really? Mm-hmm. Because hasn't he learned how to like hear what she wants and try to accommodate that? I think it's bittersweet happiness, right? I don't think it's a mistake or just a coincidence that he dresses as a ghost in the Halloween.
Well, there's two fucked up things that happen in that last scene when he comes over for Halloween. First of all, now they can do Halloween together.
Yeah.
So that's a big change. But one, she gets nominated for an Emmy for directing,
which obviously has a fucking effect on him.
And Charlie goes through 9 different emotions hearing about that, and then lands on, I'm very proud of you, and then tells Nicole that he's going to take a residency at UCLA now.
Yeah.
Not in the middle of their marriage.
And then her face
and then she goes through 11 different emotions. And ultimately you have to land on, I'm happy. I have to be happy.
Yeah.
Later on, right after that, Nicole walks in on Charlie and Henry reading the letter from the beginning that Nicole never let Charlie see. And they're just crying. And you can tell the way that both of them cry. Adam Driver cries like, holy shit, it's FYC, but in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And then Nicole also cries.
He's an ugly crier. He just goes for it. He just jumps in.
The bottom lip, it touches his forehead at one point. But they're both crying in... it's not like, oh, Henry in Marriage Story 2, you should definitely get a Parent Trap going on. It's crying in like, the past is like important. It's sad.
Yeah.
And it holds a high regard in our lives, but it's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
And that was all super important and hopeful, I think.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, all that time had to have passed for them to be able to be mutually proud of each other, to be able to feel those tears instead of just raw fucking anger. Now you can look back and be like, look at that dud kid we built. Look at like that.
He can finally read, right? Now he can finally read.
God, sort of.
So if the Invisible Man costume is 2 on the nose, is the Frankenstein? Like he's just some monster that they both
just built him out of pieces. I think it was fucked up is that not that he was a ghost, but that he is specifically Casey Affleck from A Ghost Story. And it's just like, that's not who you want to be ever.
But we also never see him with the ghost costume. He has tucked it under his arm every time we see him, knowing that like this is a part of him now, but not his entire persona.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you think the movie ultimately says about marriage then on the balance? Because it feels like we're supposed to come away thinking that even though what they had is gone, it doesn't cease being beautiful, right? So what are we saying about marriage? Should they be these temporary unions of joy?
We live forever now, man. Before you'd get married at 15 and be dead by 21, and that was great. But like, I do think marriage is like jobs, that it's foolish to. I think it's. I don't know if the movie's explicitly saying this, but maybe that it's foolish to assume one person can be your confidant, best friend, lover, tempter. Like that's insane. So you have to have like a widespread network, and at different times of your life, you're gonna have different times, and just goddamn learn. I think that's a key: is learn from the shit you go through.
Yeah, and in your intro, Greg, which I think was wrong. I don't know why you said that stuff.
A wrong tro?
That it's a divorce story more than a marriage story.
Yeah.
But I do think the title is.
Also, there was that bit of trivia from IMDb.
There is that one, too,
Yeah.
is that it is more of a marriage story where we're piecing together their marriage throughout this divorce, you know? And that's sometimes for worse. Like, I think that if we watch that intro scene again with the 2 letters, a lot of the things that they're listing about what they love about each other are actually bad.
Yeah.
You know? They seem good there. But then.
I love that he's stupid. And doesn't mind that he's always fucking wrong about every single thing ever.
One of his for hers is sometimes she listens too hard and for too long. That doesn't sound good ever. That's like, pay attention to anything else, please, for a second.
But I think that we're seeing that, like, I mean, not to sound cliche, but, like, the bigger you are, the harder you fall. Like, this was clearly a great marriage, full of love at one point. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a disaster like it was, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't just the lawyers making it hard.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, that scene in the apartment that we've been talking about doesn't happen unless the marriage was totally worth it, I think.
Right.
To me, it seems like the story of their marriage really is that for whatever reason, she can never communicate her like hurt or anger towards him until when it's time to do it. It all comes out in one awful like couple year period. And then that's when they really start knowing each other. And that's when they can really start like sort of being with each other. But either his fault, her fault, both of their faults. They just never learned how to communicate when she wanted something from him in an effective or clear way until finally Laura Dern was just like screaming it in a courtroom.
Or she did, and he was great at refusing to listen or putting it like, down the road or whatever.
She's the ghost in their marriage. He's the ghost in their divorce, but she's the ghost in their marriage.
And that's so realistic is because she's like, you promised. He's like, there were things we talked about. But, like, I think the movie's showing, like, why both of them are the villain. Or I guess neither comes out a hero, but, like, neither is worse because it's truly showing, like, there's no one truth.
Yeah.
Like, here's the exact moment that this happened, and it's completely different when they tell that.
Which I think is very impressive how the movie did that without doing any Rashomon-like stuff.
Like, nobody is just, like, watching Rashomon in one scene, or they have, like, the poster up in their dorm
Somebody
room.
suggested watching Rashomon, but Baumbach was like, no, Legend. He will watch the movie Legend.
Before we peace out, what is particularly Baumbachian about this movie?
I mean, we talked about it before about the whole. There's so much specific in it. Like Charlie and Nicole are such specific people, which is handled not just by what they fight about, but again in the beginning with the notes. That you would think that it's just two Baumbachian characters, but the specificness actually brings out the like how relatable they both are. You know, so if you've been through anything like this, whether it's a breakup or your parents got divorced or you got divorced, you're going to like feel all of it, even though you are not Charlie or Nicole.
Yeah,
and I think Baumbach in a lot of his movies, and like this is obviously like the obvious spiritual connection is Squid and the Whale. Not from Henry's point of view,
which would be
don't
terrible,
come out as monstrous. But like I do think all of his movies are kind of about like the thing you thought would be the thing that saved you is gonna hurt you at some point. That shows up in so many of his movies, and it's definitely here. This feels the most naturalistic of all of his movies. Like it felt very organic.
It's interesting.
And not twee.
He always has such clever dialogue, and in this movie, it felt like he tailored it so it was a little more naturalistic, but still had that edge of his like extreme cleverness.
Like you got to do the scene again. It's going to end in the same fight with the same brutality, but you got to rewrite your lines a little bit.
Yeah, and that worked for it.
Right. I can see.
You can see nothing.
Speed round.
You can see absolutely nothing, and you will stop talking. L.A. versus New York. Is there a more interesting national debate? Is there more the country cares about, possibly, than whether New York or L.A. is best?
Probably how people of color walk versus how white people walk. I think people are very invested in that.
That's a very good one. I love how when they were in Laura Dern's L.A., very L.A. office, with all the coffee and pastries you could want, they sent the two New York guys, Adam Driver, and then Alan Alda to me is just very New York.
Yeah.
Even though he was in Korea, I think, for a very long time. Into the most New York, like shitty, brown, no pastries, no coffee office.
A weird triangle office.
Yeah. Why would you design the office like that?
L.A. versus New York. L.A. clearly very cool. New York very cool. Why does there have to always be such an oppositional nature between those two?
Because L.A.'s better.
Yeah, it is. Having lived in both, L.A. is better.
Okay.
But it is interesting that like there's also San Francisco versus L.A. and people who live in L.A. for both of these rivalries are like, I like that city. I like visiting. And it's people in San Francisco or New York are like, fuck L.A. And L.A.'s like, what? I'm cool with you. Like, because L.A. rules.
I can't hear you because of all the space. I have so much space.
There's so many cool cities. Can't we just like them all? It's so weird how often we define things by things we don't like.
I say no. We can't like them all and let's start a new rivalry. L.A. versus
London.
Kansas City.
Oh, Kansas City. Kansas City is actually a pretty cool place, I guess. Does Marriage Story in any way confirm that whatever longing we still had for Woody Allen movies will be filled by Noah Baumbach?
I sort of think we just answered that one. I think that like back in the day when he made us feel like that we could relate to these people, even though they were so specific and they talked in this specific way. That's what we all glommed onto, right? It was not the kitty rape. It was the dialogue and the relationship.
I thought it was that nervous fellow that was in all of them.
And I mean, the L.A. and New York thing, too.
Yeah.
Like, that he was all about that shit. And Baumbach's like, you know what? I'll just not touch any money weird, and I'll continue to make these movies.
Yeah, I think I think that maybe gives us a new Woody Allen, but I was surprised at the connection when I first heard people make it. Because, again, I always feel like his stuff gets built, Baumbach stuff always gets built a little bit towards the dramatic side, but they really are comedies in the same way that, like, Annie Hall is a comedy, right?
Well, what's great about Baumbach is, like, because there's drama means never levity anything, comedy means, like, Seth Rogen's laughing is laughing it, and Baumbach is just making stories about real-ass life that having both parts make both parts more powerful.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things, too, is that after the first two movies, but I think before Squid and the Whale, he met Wes Anderson. So, like, as much Woody Allen as you may or may not feel in these movies, the Wes Anderson-y of it doesn't have to be like strict realism.
Yeah.
Your brain is not the same as my brain, but it can be very much in your brain.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Baumbach speaks to me, is not because I'm like him, but I love how I get to transport into his world that is a little bit off from ours.
Right. Are you guys worried that because every time there's been this is our next Woody Allen because we can't have Woody Allen, it was Louis, and then it was Aziz with Masters of None. Is something horrific going to come out about Noah Baumbach?
Oh, no. I hope not. How do you think Jennifer Jason Leigh feels about this movie?
I mean,
complicated,
okay,
right?
When I was doing the trivia, I read something very telling on the IMDb trivia page, which I only go to make sure I have better questions than theirs. But it was that he says that she loves it. He says, Noah Baumbach says, Jennifer Jason Leigh says, this is a great movie. Man.
Is that on the poster?
I am so interested in that statement.
I mean, the movie is.
Why do we even go to him as like a.
Yeah.
Do not talk to Jennifer Jason Leigh. The movie is heralded for being like equal and both sides and everyone's equal hero and villain. But still, it's not her, though. We haven't heard from her yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Should she just make her own movie?
And I do feel like there's a lot of ways in which the movie can't help but kind of see Charlie as more of a victim of it than.
Right. And that's because that's where we are right now. It does seem like she's worse, but only if you're like fully going in open, trying to listen to what everybody's saying. Right now, she's being more aggressive and harder. But please listen to how she's describing the first 10 years of their relationship, and you realize it can't just be she's the worst.
Yeah, I mean, he really is like almost abusively indifferent to her based on what she talks about their relationship being like back then. But there are kind of ways in which he confirms it. But like to be like for her to say it would be crazy if he looked to me and said, "What do you want to do today?" What the fuck? That's so nuts, dude. That's like abusive.
There's a lot of ways where this is like a 2019 different directed like update of Phantom Thread. You know, and like we see it almost right away after the babysitter who cannot stop masturbating leaves, and they know they're getting a divorce. He still can't not give her the note about her performance, and it was the last performance of the play.
Yeah,
she cannot change her performance
because he has to like constantly correct her. He says after they're like basically getting divorced, he's like, "You cut your hair," and she's like, "Yes," and he's like, "I like it longer." Brother, guess what?
Her reaction is
you don't
perfect.
have to
she
worry
just
about.
Laughs and she's like, "Oh." That remind me, and there's nothing connected, but in Mallrats when Shannon Doherty and Jason Leigh are fighting, and he's like, "Well, maybe you can have the dirt mall on Saturdays," and she's like, "I don't have to do your bullshit anymore."
Yeah,
and it's these very finicky, artistic men who are just like, "The world will do whatever I say."
So from Jennifer Jason Leigh to Jason Leigh, we have all of those reactions covered.
All right. Well, that is the end of the speed round. When we come back, I'll have tabulated the scores, and we will talk about what we think the prospects for this movie are going into the future of our 2019 season. I have tabulated the scores. Mike, you got 25 points.
I don't like my name coming first, best friend.
That's a high number, but is it a best friend number? No, it's not, because Ryan, you got 31 points.
31?
Ryan, what do you think was your main advantage here?
I actually watch movies. I don't think that Noah...
Oh, damn!
That's
I call him Noah Baumbach instead of Noah Bumbutt, which is what Mike calls him, and so he doesn't really like his movies.
Okay, well, there you go. Mike, why do you think you were not able to win
so
tonight?
Your stipulation for being good at reviewing movies is liking the movie? That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. You should get points removed.
Appreciating the filmmaker and not just hating him because somebody that you hate happens to like him.
I don't hate him because of that. I don't hate him. We just disagree on one movie. I don't know. Sometimes you just get edged out. I think Ryan, he got really on the ropes, hurt that he wasn't a best friend for a few weeks, and then he just... We don't all have time to sit around and watch a movie 8 times. I don't know.
Oh, so you think that, like, because I lost last week, I just came to play?
You were
that
hungry.
is true. That is accurate. That's 100% accurate.
So we know, Ryan, obviously you were the winner. You are my best friend now. How do we think this movie's going to do when we do the 2019 season? How do you think it's going to do in the 2019 season?
I think that I came off a little bit, like, I don't know, snarky about this movie. I fucking loved it. I think it was nearly perfect. I'm not sure what could compete against it.
You know, we didn't laud it as much as, honestly, as I talked about it, I liked it more and more. But one thing I noticed was it's hard to talk about anybody's performance in the movie without jumping to another actor who also did a really good job, except for the kid who played Henry, who's not good. And that made me really appreciate it. And then talking about it made me realize how genuinely funny and like fresh it was. I definitely feel like this is the type of show where I get to the end of it and I feel like I like the movie more than I did before we actually did the show. That's
because we've talked about it's funny, and ScarJo gets shit on a lot in life. We've said good things about her. Well, one of the funniest lines in the movie is her delivery of, that's all we're going to do, just fingering. I'm changing my whole fucking life. And that line could be said in so many different ways, and she said it the funniest, most empowered way you could say it.
Also, that's hot. Like you know exactly what she's there to do. You know exactly what line not to cross. You know what's going down. Some fingering is better than no fingering.
Did you guys recognize that guy in the drug rug who obviously came to a Halloween party in the fucking weed-smelling clothes that he woke up in?
I called it a costume.
That was Lucas Neff, the dad from Raising Hope, hit sitcom on the Fox Network.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Very interesting.
Also, Hollywood, I know you're listening. Catherine fucking Hahn did not make it into the Pop Filter Hall of Fame for never being in movies. She just came into like every 10th movie for 5 years and stole it. Merritt Weaver, I would like to see in every fucking movie from here on out.
Yeah, we hereby demand more Merritt Weaver. And just like imagine you're like a casting director or something. You get to get credit for how good she is at something she does just by being like, let's put her in it.
Also, do you know what was weird about those two sisters? Did it feel like that she raided her mom's 70s closet and Scarlett Johansson raided her dad's 70s closet? Did you notice what they were wearing the whole time?
One of my favorite parts of the movie, bringing up dads, is where she's like, you're like your father. So he comes back and says, you're like all the parents like, the two of us have.
You're the worst parts of all those people we just listed off.
At some point, you can't be like hurt by that, right? You're just like, oh, you're just screaming things.
Do you guys have that? When my wife busts out the "you're being like your father" line on me, that is an argument winner. That's like she has to use it with care. But when she busts that out, that means I have lost.
When my wife says you're being like Greg's dad, it kills me.
And I would just never say to Kelly, my wife, I would just never say you're like your mom. I just. Like, why would you do that? Because
you don't want to get divorced right away.
I might as well hit her with one of the...
You're just fucking ugly.
Right, there's some things you don't say when you're involved in a marriage. And definitely one of them is... Well, I think you could probably say that. That would be fine.
Ruiner.
No. That's devastating.
Well, we are very excited about this movie. I think it is the kind of movie that could take down a bracket. It is the type of movie we get excited about it. We don't feel like we completely can encompass it. It made us laugh. It didn't feel like it was way too long. That, does very well in brackets, in our bracket.
Yeah, I just wish it was directed by somebody else because, we want to talk about Noah Baumbach, but I know a bum butt who's probably going to shit all over it because he hates me.
No,
I feel like you used the bum butt joke
you just go to that bum butt well like 4 times the same show.
Bum butt is so good. I could probably do it 3 more times.
You guys just didn't react the first time I did it, so I just thought, well, Mike, here's the deal. I think we should clear out of here and let Ryan have some private studio time.
Stew. I don't want to be around this energy.
So we'll just walk out of here. Walk.
Okay. God damn. This is cool. I am going to have some of my special guests that I invited to the green room. They're going to come out on stage and they're going to do some announcements for us at the end. Here to talk about, let's do websites, is once divorced, twice divorced, 3 times divorced. It's Mike's dad, Brooklyn Hancart. Hancart Brooklyn, I'm sorry.
I love it. Give it to me right now. Hey, Ron, good to see you again.
It's also good to see you. I'm so glad that you took my note of too much cologne and last time I saw you and just changed into a different cologne and there's more of it.
I thought you didn't like my new Axe body spray, so I went back to my caviar.
I do appreciate how you didn't button the shirt up. You just shaved my initials into your chest hair.
Mm-hmm. I want to let my son's friends know I appreciate them.
Did you do that in the mirror?
Well, yeah. Well, how else would you do?
Okay, because it doesn't actually say my initials. It's just a lot of blood everywhere.
Oh, yeah, but it represents you. Because your passion. I'm into it, man.
Everything I see, I feel like represents me, and then you're telling me that this is actually the case right now.
Do you want to join my pickup game? We play basketball every Sunday, all the divorced dads.
Okay, is it also a key party or anything?
No, we just play.
We just let our big old dick swing around in our basketball shorts, no Under Armour.
No Under Armour. Okay.
Skins v. skins.
Handcart. Skins versus skins is the best way to watch a basketball game. Handcart. You have abandoned Mike.
Sure.
Is there any
He's a real dud.
websites that you would not abandon?
I would never abandon yourpopfilter.com because I'm so proud of you, buddy, and everything you've got there going on. I want everybody to help you out financially going to yourpopfilter.com/Amazon. It's just like regular Amazon, but it helps you out.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Handcart.
Thank you.
Get the fuck off the
See
stage.
you next Sunday.
You smell so bad. Here to tell us about other podcasts that we do is the one, the only, the lawyer that divorced my parents, John and Linda. It's Storv Nakacho.
Hey, it's me, Storm Nakacho. How you doing?
Storv Nakacho.
Well, your parents still divorced?
They are still divorced.
Hooray!
Yes. No, you won that one for
yes.
sure.
I love a story where it stays.
How many
know?
times did my name come up in all of these conversations that you guys had?
Listen, I'm not supposed to say, but I will. A lot.
And it's weird.
A lot.
You were both of my parents' lawyers?
I was.
Is that legal?
Technically, yes.
Okay, good. What was the most heated argument that you heard about in that process?
Your mom wanted to get an abortion, and your dad said that she should not. And then they didn't do it, and your mom always held that against you.
Against me,
and
yes.
your father, yeah.
How many cases do you come across where it is the kid's fault?
You know what? We tell kids, hey, look, it's not your fault, right? Because kids, they're precious. But 99% of the time, it's the kid's fault.
If they had not had kids,
yeah,
wonderful life, vacations
just
every day,
hanging out, no, not too many expenses.
Lots of that. What's that game called?
Bocce?
No, where you throw the beanbag into the cornhole.
Cornholing.
Lots of cornholing.
Lot of
when there's no
cornholing,
kids.
right? As soon as you have a kid, all the cornholing gone.
Are you only a divorce lawyer? What's your most famous case?
I only do very sad divorces.
Oh man, you got it right with my parents.
Yeah. If there's if it's well, they're still going to be in each other's lives, and that's nice. I don't do that one. Only it was just a real fist fight. That's when you bring in me. My name.
And you really did it. It seemed like you went in to completely obliterate my family.
Oh, yeah.
And it was.
Game over, man. Game over, right?
They were so nice to each other before you came in.
I remember they both came in the same day, and your mom said, listen, I want to be friends when this is all over. It's all that's important to me. And your dad said, you know what? Same. And I said, forget about that. No way. No way, Jose. Not with a duddy kid like you got, right?
And that's my brother that you're
one
talking about.
perfect kid.
That's me.
And
that
one
you're
duddy
talking
kid.
Duddy kid.
I am not legally allowed to say whether you or your brother was the chud.
I also noticed that they both talked about how they would have their heads bunked together often. Was that one of your maneuvers? Just to bunk their heads together?
Yeah, just, a little order in the court. Just they'd be agreeing on something, and I just slam their old noggins together.
What was your go-to for lunch in the middle of an arbitration?
I would never feed them. That's the thing. You keep them hungry, fighting dogs, right? Just the whole time.
It also says here you fight dogs.
Yeah, and also I am a dog fighter.
Thank you.
Listen, I love cruelty.
I appreciate that. Is there any podcast that you listen to?
I listen to Superhero Hour, even though I'm very busy, and an hour of my time is worth a lot more than an hour of yours. I like the OCD. That's a good one. And that's probably it, right?
Those are good ones.
Yeah, movie of the year, but I think obviously the people already know this is a good one. Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say on your last appearance on Movie of the Year?
Goodbye and God bless.
Goodbye and God bless. Thank you so much, Starv.
Starv Marvin.
Here to talk to us about all of our social media is Pepper Kanovitz, the inventor of the candy cane.
What's up, Brian? How you doing?
You invented the candy cane.
I like whimsy in my life. I think
you like whimsy in your life.
Life should just be interesting and fun, and everybody should just have a real good time in any way they can. And maybe a little gnome who has a hobbled knee needed to get around. That's how I invented it.
Oh, so it's supposed to be a actual working cane for...
Look, it's one of those working cane double shank devices.
One of those situations.
You suck it long enough, you just shank a motherfucker right in the net because I also like whimsy in my fights.
Are you in prison currently?
No, not currently.
When was the last time you were there, Pepper?
Probably not going to talk about that.
Probably not, but maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Would it surprise you to know that no one has ever finished a candy cane and nobody likes them?
It would. It hurts me right to my very soul.
If someone was to tell you that, what would you do to them?
I'd probably take this candy cane I have right here and just give it a little, and then show them what's what.
And then you have a ship.
What's what?
Just,
right through the nostril.
It takes 4 of the hardest sucks I've ever seen on any candy to just make a ship.
An owl who does in 3. I do in 4. I guess it's not that impressive, but mine turns into a weapon, not a stupid nugget.
What's your favorite flavor of candy cane?
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon. All right, one of those guys. Okay.
I like it because it hurts a little.
Are you on social media?
I'm not. No, I'm legally not allowed to be on social media. Are you on social media?
Because of prison?
I mean, who knows why?
Is it prison?
Yeah, I had a pretty bad lawyer.
Was it the guy who divorced my parents?
Yeah, I mean, I think he normally did divorces, and he bare knuckle boxed dogs. When somebody says they're a dog fighter, you normally assume that they own dogs and they're a monster that way. But no, this guy, he would just punch dogs in the face.
Oh, he was the dog fighter. I see. That's crazy. It's hard for me to tell which is the worst person on this show tonight.
There's a lot of bad people out there.
What about our social media? Have you heard of that?
I've heard that if you go to our social media, just kidding. That's a joke we like to tell him. At Your Pop Filters, where you could go on Twitter and Instagram. Or I do hear if you go to yourpopfilter.com/social, it'll take you to everywhere you need to go. You want this bacon-flavored candy cane?
I do not want that, actually.
I'm trying out.
Because candy canes are awful, right? It's the candy corn of this holiday.
Don't you do that to me. Don't you? I'll take these little bag of candy corns, sharpen all of them, and fire them like a Gatling gun in your face.
All right, take a minute and sharpen all of those candy corns. Now, let's take a minute and listen to this. And then go downstage while I talk to this new person. He is here to talk to us about all the ways to contact us. This is Little Fernie Gradowitz, who hates marshmallows in his cocoa. Hello, Fernie.
It's me, Little Fernie Gradowitz.
Would you like a cup of cocoa?
Not with marshmallows.
Oh, my God.
No, thank you.
How about a cup of cocoa without marshmallows?
Okay, I accept.
But I have this bag of marshmallows right here.
No, keep those. Get those out of my face.
What if we just tried one marshmallow?
No, that's like my only thing. My defining personality that you gave me is that I have built in myself.
What if we had a second personality? What would it be? Trait.
It would be gets angry when you push the marshmallow thing.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Like, you came in here so polite and wearing your short pants, and I love your short pants.
I pulled the socks up to my knees so I don't feel the breeze on them.
Now your face is getting red and angry, and it feels like you're wearing long pants.
I'm furious. Is it weird that I'm standing on the table?
Yes, you're standing on the table.
Is that weird?
And don't stomp on my marshmallows, please.
Okay. I'm kicking them off the table.
Okay.
Down to the ground you go, marshmallows.
How about this? You drink your cup of cocoa with one floor mallow inside of it.
Why would I do that? No, of course not.
No,
of course not. No.
Let's compromise.
I demur.
I want you to have 30 marshmallows in your cocoa.
You're starting it crazy.
Yeah,
right? I don't
want 0.
No.
So why don't we negotiate here?
In fact, I'm not going to drink any of this cocoa at all now.
Oh, come on. I made the cocoa. I didn't make a whole pot of cocoa. I made specifically 1 cup of cocoa.
You had a choice.
It's hot cocoa.
No.
It's not that cold cocoa.
I
know
refuse.
you hate. Look at the steam coming off of it.
Look at my body. Look at my body language. I refuse.
It's weird. You're angry.
I know.
Did you talk to that lawyer downstairs? Did he teach you how to act like
he
this?
taught me how to live to fight for my rights.
Okay, Little Fernie, tell us about ways to contact us, and don't look at your cocoa while you do that.
I won't. I'm not. I'm past cocoa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just decided.
Now what are you going to drink?
I no longer like cocoa. I'm a Sprite guy. Just Sprite. So, unless you can offer me a warm glass of Sprite.
With marshmallows
shut the hell
in it?
up. Yeah, of course. Why not? It was just a combination. You can call 1562 Dr. DJ Pop. That's it's a phone number. I guess you pick up a phone and you input those digits and then you scream into it. Or contact at Your Pop Filter, which is email.
Okay, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but here is your warm cup of Sprite with marshmallows in it.
Thank you.
Can you drink this, please?
I will drink it right now.
Can you drink it?
Drink, 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 drink.
And?
I love it.
Okay, that was cocoa. That was cocoa with marshmallows.
You know what? I'm storming out.
Okay.
I'm storming out. And I'll probably politely leave, but like for the record,
But don't push things off
storming
surfaces
out.
or kick.
No.
Don't punch a hole in a drywall with a weak fist.
But I think the impression should be that as if I did those things. But I'm not going to.
Greg!
Hey, Ryan.
There's craziness. Somebody almost kicked and thought about punching things.
I was talking to a guy in the green room. I think I'm leaving Kelly. That's
he's good at his job.
Yeah, I was very confused by the end of the conversation. And also, I think I'm fighting a dog. So...
Are you leaving Kelly for Mike's dad at Handcart Brooklyn? Oh, Mike, also. Where are you? Okay, good.
Well, that is the end of our A Marriage Story show. Next week, Ryan, what are we doing next week? Is going to be our holiday spectacular.
Yes, we're going to do it out. We have a huge budget. We're going to buy all the lights. We're going to record for 8 hours. We're going to replay one of our old episodes. It's going to be big.
It's going to be so cool.
We play one of our old episodes?
Right.
Yeah.
The middle of the big.
And everyone's just grinding on the dance floor to it.
Remember, you can't spell the middle of the big without I.
That's true.
And I will be on that show.
And I will see you next time, listeners. But until then, keep watching them movies.